Hello and welcome to an Ollie's Octane video. Today we're back on the Brera. In this video we're going to be doing spark plugs, oil filter, air filter and oil. So basically you might notice I'm not talking in this clip at the moment. That's because you couldn't hear anything over the wind. That's because this video was filmed in late December last year. So yeah, let's get started in the video, shall we? So basically what we're doing here is we're taking the under tray bolts off. They're pretty well seized, then typically half of them are missing. There are two sizes for the under tray bolts. I can't remember the sizes, but they are hex bolts. One is way bigger than the other one, but typically on your cars there will be half of them missing and they'll be seized on, so they might crack off. So I would recommend buying some extra under tray bolts if you are going to do this yourself. Okay, and that's the under tray off. As you can see, it's in a pretty awful state. Loads of scratches, scrapes, dents on it, all the usual stuff from speed bumps and stuff. Anyway, so I'm going to do a video on how to, you can clean that up a little bit. You'll see that on a later video. So while I've got the under tray off, my dad's going to go and get the sump plug out while I start on the top of the engine with the spark plugs. Hey, this might be a little bit tricky to see, but I've got the sump plug out. It's 15mm sump plug on these. As you can see, the oil is pretty dirty. So while this is draining out, I'm going to start on the top of the engine with the spark plugs and the oil filter. What you need to change the oil filter on these is a 32mm socket, which I have here, and it's just in a really fiddly place on these. It's just down here. And then you need to grab your socket wrench with two extenders on, and then just down here make sure you mix the wires on, and then
imagine it's going to be quite grimy.
oh my god,
That is bad. Let's have a look at that. Yeah, and that's the classic there, where they're sort of bent in, they start to crush on these. So really ignore the 18,000 watt, whatever it is, mile service intervals. We always change ours at more like about 6, but certainly 10 at the most. Okay, right, we'll get this cleaned up and then we'll come back and put the new one in.
Yep. Right, so what I've done now is I fitted the new O-ring, as you can see here, and now what I like to do is get some WD-40, mix it on all the threads and all in there, making sure most of that old engine oil is gone. Right, then what you need to do is get your new oil filter here, drop that into there, and that should locate into the thing. I think that's it. Into that. Good. Yeah, that in. Then get your cap. Just go into the threads. The wire just there, make sure they out, and then make sure it's on, and then you grab your socket, which you can't find, drop that on, so
I should start hand tightening just a
Yeah.
little bit first, to make sure the thread's not cross-threaded.
yeah,
That feeling nice? Yeah.
yeah, good. You grab the socket, not when we're taking it off, and then just press it, I can get it there, into the top, make sure that's set to tighten.
back and do the plugs.
Yep. Do is now is undo this hose clip here. Just put your screwdriver just into there. It should just come off like that. So then you can remove the hose gently, and then this here should just prise off. Just hold on, buddy.
So there's a couple of ball joints under there. It's this.
Yeah, and then the screws that.
Okay.
Like that. Just that whole thing just come off.
Yeah, there's another two ball joint sort of things on there. You see the one at the back?
Oh yeah. Just push it or
Just give it a good size it with your
there we are.
screwdriver.
Okay, and this was the moment of absolute disaster. This ball joint here falls off, but if you are doing this yourself, I'd recommend, you know, making sure that doesn't happen, because these are an absolute nightmare to get back out of the engine bay. We spent about 40 minutes trying to get this ball joint, so don't be like me and make sure it doesn't fall off. Uh-oh,
Okay,
the rubber thing came off.
that's it, and then put that on. That's right. Great.
The rubber thing is not on.
Okay, so on here what we've got effectively is where the coil packs are.
Right, so now I need to undo these bolts. Well, this bolt here to get the coil pack off, and underneath here sits the spark plugs, which come out and get changed. This wire should go to that, I believe.
Just pull them down.
So I'll just put that
Got it.
and then this should just. There we are.
What's your wire there?
There we are.
Now there is a connector there, but you can leave that. You can take that connector off here,
Oh, yeah.
but you should be able to just lift those carefully out of the way. Okay, and we're ready to get the plugs out.
So now we're taking out the old spark plugs, which luckily aren't too tight, so I'm not going to crack any, which is good.
Interesting to see what these look like.
Mm.
I got it.
Yeah.
Let's have a look. That's okay. Not no oil on that, which
That's
is
good.
good. Fingers crossed the others will be the same. Okay, we'll carry on with the 4 and then we'll come back, put the new plugs in.
So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my plug into here, then since that, I'm going to put it down into here carefully. Make sure it's not going to cross thread. Just got to tighten it until it's finger tight.
If there's any resistance on that, just stop, so you know it's not cross-threaded.
I think that one's finger-ish tight. Okay.
The dreaded sockets come off. Give it a wiggle.
Okay, it actually turns out I forgot to film the part where the spark plug actually goes in. But it's pretty self-explanatory, that one, but just make sure you read how many turns it takes for the plug to get in, if that makes sense. But anyway, let's get started with the air filter, shall we? So what I'm doing now is the air filter. As you can see, it's not a, usual under the bonnet, few clips and it's out job. This is actually under the front passenger side of the car. As you can see, these bolts are pretty rusted on. It's a 7mm nut, but you'll need a long reach socket as it's such a tiny place, so a normal 7mm won't get it. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you the socket you'll need, which you can see there. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start undoing all the bolts, and we'll get the old air filter out, and we'll see you in a minute. So the difference between the old air filter, which is here, compared to the new air filter, it's pretty shocking, the difference.
Well, I think we'll get the car breathing a bit better in a minute, Al.
Yep.
Okay, I'll get that back in. You can crack on with the plugs.
Yep. This here is the PCV valve. This is something that often gets forgotten about. Which is unprise these clips really carefully. Make sure they don't snap.
Just work your way around with them. And then all you're doing, pull that. It's very difficult to film this, and pull that and pull it upwards as you're prising those off. That's it.
It should just come out. That, and then here, this often gets tears. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to carefully lift this out.
Really carefully so you don't rip the diaphragm. You should be able to pull that possibly with your fingers. That's if I help, because I haven't got gloves on. There we go.
Yeah.
That's how.
Take that out. Check that
So we're
over.
going to check around here. Around there, there's no splits or tears. That can cause it to idle a bit rough. That's looking good.
Then in here,
Take that spring out.
just going to give this a bit of a wipe over.
And then give that a good clean out in there. This car's actually stood for quite a while, so there's some moisture in there. So we need to clean all of that out. I'm hoping that's just from the condensation, because it's sat for quite a long time, this car. So I think Ollie will carry on cleaning this out, and then we'll come back in a couple of minutes. Okay.
So just giving these a clean up. What I've got to do with a bit of WD-40. Now it's got to reassemble everything. Make sure it all slots in nicely. And this cap, make sure the line there is pointing towards the left of the car. And that should just slot back on like that. Make sure the clips are down. Make sure it's solid. You're good to go. Okay, and well, you can't really see, but this is the second disaster of the video. It is absolutely hammering it down that we had to, well, we're going to have to stop recording here. You can see me over there holding up a torch and a second umbrella covering the other half of the engine. Stop it from getting wet. But that's going to have to be it for the video. My dad's going to chuck some of the other parts back together and fill it up with some oil. So it's pretty much the same, but in reverse, putting everything back together. So thank you for watching. Like, subscribe for some more videos. And that was how to service your Alfa Romeo Brera, Spider and 159. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video.